Hello and welcome to the Intermittent Fasting Gems with Jen podcast. I'm your host, Jen, a middle-aged Michigan mama, wife, and teacher who in 2021 stumbled upon this crazy cool thing called intermittent fasting. And before I knew it, I'd lost 46 pounds in 4 months and gained an incredible lifestyle filled with complete food freedom. If you're hungry for unique, no-nonsense fasting tips that actually work, you're in the right place. So whether you're walking the dog, folding that last load of laundry, or cruising to your 9 to 5, let's start fasting our way to freedom together. Hello there, fasting friends. Today we are chatting with Dr. John D'Ambrosio, who currently lives in Georgia and is the author of the book Fasting That Works. Dr. John is a former chiropractor with over 30 years of clinical experience who now focuses on sharing his health and weight loss journey and helping people lose stubborn belly fat through fasting. So his book, Fasting That Works, which I recently read and loved, it cuts through all of the confusion and it instead offers a simple, a practical, no-nonsense approach to fasting that delivers real results. Welcome, Dr. John. I am so excited to chat with you today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. This is great.
This is great. All right. So I also want to mention, too, that can I call you Dr. John? What would you like me to call you?
You can just call me John.
Call you John. All right. Sounds good. So John also has a 6-module fasting course in the works. So we are going to be excited to hear more about that too. So, all right, let's get started today with some big wins, John. What would you say have been your personal biggest top 3 intermittent fasting wins?
Well, for me, it's actually interesting. You would think it was, I lost 20 pounds in 2 months, and that would be, and that was my biggest for a while. But then I ended up, as you get older, you start thinking about life insurance. So I had to, get life insurance. And for my age, I have a very healthy lifestyle. So I had a very good rate. And I had been fasting, the way that I teach. And I went in for blood work for it. And my blood work came out so clean that they actually gave me a lower rate, which is not something insurance companies really jump into doing. So
absolutely. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 59.
59. Fabulous. Wow. You look incredible for 59. That's awesome.
Not having any gray helps.
For all the listeners, I am looking at a very beautiful bald head. So, all right. I didn't mean to cut you off. So keep going with those awesome wins.
Yeah, so that was really my biggest win. So like I said, the 20 pounds, losing that and making sure it was, fat and not muscle. I thought that was going to be the top of my list until I had the blood work done. And I was really pleasantly surprised. And I always had a clean lifestyle. Fasting just made it that much cleaner. And the health benefits of fasting, the weight loss is great. But the overall health benefits that go with not only losing weight, but just the autophagy and things like that, it was just so apparent in that blood test that that's my biggest win.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. So I know that in your book, I thought it was very interesting how many similarities we have kind of with our inline thoughts with fasting. And I think I as well started off with weight loss being, of course, the biggest draw to fasting. But quickly you realize you're getting older. The health benefits are incredible. But again, I just thought it was really cool. Some of the things that I kind of picked out that I really thought that we kind of aligned with. One of those being that whole breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And I think, I'm 50, just turned 50. So that was kind of ingrained in me for years and years. And, when you really dig into it and you think, oh my goodness, you feel like you've been lied to for years. And it's,
Yeah.
a few other things that you talked about, the strength, how paramount strength training is to your
Hmm.
success, and, protein centered meals. But I think mostly what we really aligned with was the simplicity and the flexibility of fasting. So let's chat a little bit about your preferred intermittent fasting methods or schedules, which I actually found to be very interesting in your book as well. So, what routines or IF methods have you found that work best and have gotten you the best results?
Well, that's interesting because for years I've been doing 16/8. It was just something very easy for me to do. So it wasn't a leap. I just was doing it wrong. And, you think, oh, how could you mess up eating windows? But you really can. I mean, what you break your fast with can really change everything. So even though I was doing 16/8 for years, it wasn't until I realized, oh, I'm breaking my eating window with a horrible sugar bomb every single day, that maybe if I start modifying that a little bit, it'll help. And it helped immensely. So when I was really working on losing that weight, I did 5 days 16/8 and then two 42-hour fasts. So usually Tuesday and Thursday, I just wouldn't eat. So I'd have dinner on Monday, wouldn't eat Tuesday, have lunch on Wednesday, have dinner on Wednesday, would not eat Thursday, and then would have my first meal again on Friday around lunchtime. And that really worked well for me.
I love that. And I think part of that has to do with the mixing things up and keeping
Hmm.
your metabolism humming and things like that. Sounded very similar to um, kind of the, throwing in the ADF every once in a while routine I did. But I think the power of it, an extended fast, I think that it is so great. And I think a lot of people, they just think there's no way I could do that 40, 42
Right.
hours. And as you mentioned in your book, and as I've said many, many times, I do not think, especially if you haven't been fasting for a while, that you should just go blazing into a 40-hour fast. You definitely need to ease into it. But once you kind of build up that fasting muscle, it is really incredible how positively your body responds to it. And it is such a great way to bust through kind of a weight loss stall or plateau, and to get you where you want to be. Because who are we kidding? If we're trying to lose weight and it's so slow, you're going to
Hmm.
lose motivation.
Definitely.
And like you said 20 pounds of fat in
Yeah.
2 months. That is a very encouraging and motivating, uh, you know, timetable. And you've been maintaining and
Yeah.
able to sustain. Okay, so that is what you did to lose the weight. Are you a little less strict with that now in maintenance
I am.
mode? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll do 16/8 most days. I like to try to throw in a 42-hour fast, once a week. I'll usually do it maybe on a Monday. But it's not every single week. But I'll know if I'm doing something where, okay, we're going out to eat over the weekend, we're going to be hanging out with friends. I had a family vacation in Maryland where I was an entire week, and I stuck to 16/8, but I didn't let it ruin time. So if everybody was hanging out and they were doing s'mores, and I felt like having a s'more, and it was 10 or 11 o'clock at night, I had that, but knowing that when I got back, I would just say, okay, I'm going to go. And I did. For that first week back, I did 2 days of just like my old schedule, Tuesday and Thursday, and everything fell right back into place. So flexibility is so important.
Yes, I totally agree, and that is for me the big draw to fasting, because just like we were talking about before we actually pushed record, my husband and we cruise all the time. So yes, you can work around. I make sure that I do fast 16 hours on the cruise, but I shift it so that I can enjoy a awesome late lunch and a very nice dinner and now some snacks and dessert, you can work it around. And it is just a beautiful thing. So
it is. And speaking to something you had said earlier, that
yes,
we both feel, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, which we know it isn't. But technically, break fast is the most important meal of the day, because how you break that fast is so important. So you could be out there on your cruise and enjoying yourself, but you're not going to just then, okay, eating window, hit the dessert bar.
exactly.
And say, oh, let me have some meat. Let me have some.
Exactly. Yes.
And it makes a difference.
Yeah, I usually break mine with a nice salad. If we always go Royal Caribbean, so they have the Windjammer Cafe, but loaded with some protein. But that is another kind of similarity we have in realizing the importance of what you break your fast with, and we'll get to that in a minute as far as foods and things like that. But yeah, I guess it's all of the mistakes that you have to kind of weed through. But realizing that once you kind of figure out what works best for your body, and then it is just such a wonderful lifestyle that is so comfortable, and easy. That it's simple, it's easy. And that's why, like you said in your book, you're ready to just share it with the masses. That's how I feel too. When I have been on so many diets over the years, fad diets and yo-yo diets and juice diets and all of the stupid stuff that doesn't work. When I finally found fasting, I felt like it was a secret treasure, and you can't help but want to share that with everyone, and especially now because. I started fasting when I was about 45, and I just turned 50, and I'm struggling with, the hormonal and all of that stuff that happens during this time of life, in a woman's life. And I am absolutely thankful that I have fasting, because I know that it is helping me combat a lot of that. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just the hormonal balance that occurs with fasting when your body's able to regulate the way it's supposed to regulate. I mean, that was one of the things I noticed, being a chiropractor for all those years.
Yes.
You could help one person at a time. And, starting in the, when I did, I watched the average person coming in get heavier and heavier and heavier. And fasting, to me now, that we've gotten down to what really works and how flexible it is and how you can personalize it, just reaching out to people through, again, the book and the modules, I can reach so many more people and help them with their health much better than I could one-on-one, in an office. So
exactly. Yeah, that's how I feel too. With my course, it's not for everybody, but at least if they can get on there and pull out nuggets and help them, kind of incorporate what works for them into their fasting lifestyle. And then once you kind of hit what works for you, then you're kind of golden. You're going to have to tweak it as you age and things like that, and learn more things from other people. Like I love this because I'm learning so much from you, and hopefully you'll pull something from me, and us sharing it with everybody, just hoping that they can find the peace that comes with finding something that not only helps you control your weight, but is incredible for your health as well. So
yeah, and like you said, it's finding what works for you. I have a personal trainer who reached out to me, and he read the book, but he loves fasting so much. He says he's in the best shape of his life now. He's stronger than he's ever been. But he really likes doing one meal a day. He said, I tried doing the longer fast, and I just found that one meal a day, I didn't even need to think about eating. I'm training people all day.
Yep.
And he's just thrilled with one meal a day. For me, that wouldn't be for me. I could do that on occasion, but for him, that's what works for him. He loves it, and that's great.
That's it. You have to find. Yep, I'm a OMAD girl through and through. I love it. Sundays, I'm more lax. I do more of a 16-8 on Sundays, and then I do my extended fast weekly, usually Sunday evening starting about 7, and then I usually break it on Tuesday around 2 or 3 p.m. And but I liked how, I think I need to step it up a little, and I liked how you did 2 days, and I think I could definitely do that. So I might do my fast on Monday and Wednesday, and just do a little more alternate day and throw it in there and see if that helps. Because, like I said, I've got the hormonal stuff happening, so I've been, my pants are getting a little bit tighter, I'm noticing. So it's just telling me that I need to maybe try something new. So reading your book came at a perfect time, because you definitely
Great.
gave me some really awesome tips that I hadn't even thought about. So
Let me ask you something,
yeah,
because
sure.
we talked about how breaking the fast, that meal is the most important. But before you go on your longer fast, I mean, this is personally what I found, that if I end my eating window before, I was say I'm taking Tuesday off, if Monday night I have something that's going to spike into, like, oh, I'm not going to be eating again, let me have a treat. I find that it makes that next day so much harder than if I end with my last meal on something high protein, high fat. Have you found that the same?
100%. I have a giant 3,000 word blog post just on that, because,
Okay.
yeah, on my website. Yeah, no, I learned that the hard way. First of all, it makes I can barely make it through the whole extended fast. So, yeah, I definitely make sure I do usually end with like Greek yogurt, Too Good brand I like, because it's low
Yeah.
sugar, very high protein, low carb. So yeah, and it's got those healthy fats in there too. So yeah, something like that. It makes a giant difference in what you end that fast with, preparing for that extended fast. So another thing I was curious about, when I do an extended fast, I take an Element plain electrolyte supplement around like hour 20 to 22, when my body starts feeling a little bit wonky, and that helps push me through to that 40 hours. Do you do any electrolyte? I know you mentioned something in your book, but
I do. I mean, I
okay.
drink them, especially, when I was doing on the 42-hour fast. I literally had a big gallon water jug with a straw in it, and I would put the electrolytes in that, and I would just drink it all day. It was orange flavored. It was flavored with stevia. So,
Oh, okay.
research shows that there's, no spike there. There can be
Right.
something with your brain, can be like, ooh, sweets.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that. It never really stimulated any extra hunger with me.
Do
But
you
yeah, I
happen
always did that.
happen to know the brand of that?
Not off the top of my head. I can
Okay.
get that to you
Well,
though.
maybe after this you could send that to me, because that is
Sure.
something I wrote down in orange. I like that too. That's a good flavor. So, all right. So since everything, there are challenges, of course, that come with fasting. Let's talk a little bit about that. So what are the biggest challenges that you've run into over the many years that you've been fasting? And I think in your book you said that fasting has been a part of your life in some way, shape, or form for like 15 years or something. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, so
Wow.
I had stumbled across Martin Berkham. He had a website called Lean Gains. I'm not sure if it's even around anymore, but he
Okay.
talked about fasting while working out and how to get really lean. So I thought this is great. Let me look into this, because he, the picture on his website, of course, he was really cut, and I said,
Sure.
this is what I want to go with. So I'd actually, the platform and everything was small enough way back then that I could emailed him directly, and we went back and forth. And his recommendations were, because you're going to be working out, you want to have branched chain amino acids when you're fasting and working out. So I didn't know any better. That obviously breaks the fast. Um,
Right.
so I did that, and I didn't really notice any changes, but the 16/8 stuck with me, and I just continued doing that. I mean, while working out, I did, CrossFit for 10 years, and
Okay.
2 workouts a day, and those morning workouts were fasted. And I've always worked out fasted since I started with him all those years ago. It's just very
Yeah.
comfortable for me. So it's been a part of my life for a long time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I love to work out fasted too. Yeah, I think I'm a runner, and I much prefer to get up, do my run on, I'm on like 12, 14 hours into my fast, and yeah, it just feels comfortable. So, all right, I pulled you away from that question a little bit. I'm sorry. So, what would you
That's a,
say has been like your biggest challenge?
so the biggest challenge initially was not doing the having the electrolytes. Obviously besides
Oh,
the
okay, yeah.
breaking the fast with the sugar bomb, but not
Yeah, you
having the
mentioned that in your
electrolytes.
book. That was like a mocha, like Starbucks
Yeah,
thing or
eight.
something.
Yep, I would go in and they knew me at Starbucks. So I'd walk in. It would be an 8 pump Venti mocha with no whip and whole milk. So I didn't have the whipped cream. But
Right,
literally, if you
right.
look at those Venti cups, it was
They're
almost
big.
halfway full with chocolate syrup.
8 pumps of mocha?
Yeah, 8 pumps of mocha
Wow.
syrup in there. So it was just this chocolatey deliciousness. But,
Well,
when
yeah.
you don't
Okay, so
even think
that's what
about
you
it.
were breaking your fast with?
That's what I would break my fast with. That would be my
Wow.
first. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So why
That'll,
didn't I lose weight? I don't know.
because of course, it's not about what you eat, right? It's about what. No,
No.
no, no. That is not true. We all like to think that. I think a lot of people ooh, you mean I can eat whatever I want as long as I squeeze it into these hours, specified
Right.
hours. And
Yeah,
then no
and that's
other rules. Yeah, no.
that's a big mistake people make. It's like, okay, I'm going to
100%.
fit all of my meals and all of my snacks into my 8 hour eating window. So
Yeah.
the clock ticks, boom, and they just eat nonstop until the window stops. And
Yes.
again, it wasn't that bad, but exercising, one of the big things and they probably still push it is, you got to eat every 2 hours because your muscles are going to waste away. You got to constantly feed them. So,
Right.
6 to 8 meals a day. And I had done that, and you don't realize, much later on, hindsight's 50/50 that, well, yeah, you're spiking insulin every 2 hours, so you're storing fat all day long.
Yeah. Yes, and I definitely think you're right. That I believe that's probably one of, if not the biggest mistakes that people make when they first start off with fasting. Yep, they
Yeah.
just go blazing in there and have whatever they want, and it doesn't end well in a lot of ways.
It really
I have some
doesn't.
blog posts on that, but we won't go in. We won't go into that. So. All right, so
Yeah,
let's keep with talking about some food and some drinks that you do enjoy. What are kind of your go-to drinks during your fasting times, and then maybe some go-to favorite foods that you enjoy that make you
Sure.
feel your best during your eating windows, John?
Yeah, so during my, the fasting window, it's really just, it's the water with the electrolytes because it is orange flavored. So, I
Okay.
enjoy that. Sometimes I'll have coffee. I would put, again, this would be a chocolate flavored stevia, which again had no calories. But the black coffee, I could drink it iced, but I prefer a
Okay.
little sweetness to it. So I did that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Zevia sodas.
I
There
am.
again, I mean, some people have issues with stevia. They feel maybe it's not all it's chalked up to be. I've researched it pretty well, and I don't have any issue with it spiking my blood sugar, making me more hungry afterwards. So a Zevia soda, if I really, just because it's carbonated, it helps kind of fill your
Okay.
stomach a little more.
Sure.
So those are great for me
So let
during.
me ask you,
Yeah.
did you have those drinks during the 2 months that you were losing the weight, or
I
just
had
now
the-
during maintenance?
No, I had the black iced coffee with the stevia. I did have that during.
You
and
did?
I
Okay.
would have the Zevia sodas if I was having, at dinner. It wouldn't be
Okay.
something I would have during my my fasting window. I could have. It just
Yeah.
never really occurred to me because I
No,
kept
I'm
busy.
I'm glad that you've shared that, because that's another big question. And I think that also goes back to where you really just have to do that trial and error,
Mm-hmm.
because I do think that, I have come into contact, a lot of people in my Facebook group have said that, once they switch from, a little bit of a dirty fast to a complete clean fast, they saw better weight loss results, and also they didn't feel quite as hungry. But I've also had other people like yourself who have said, well, I've tried this and I'm still losing weight, and it works for me. So again, I think that's where you got to say, hey, let's do a little trial and error. And if you're not getting the results, then maybe try going completely clean and see if that helps. But yeah, finding what works for you. So
Yeah, I mean, I always had issue with, and again, everybody's different, but I wouldn't put that, you say, oh, you can put a tablespoon of heavy cream in and
yeah.
it'll, help. And if you really want to extend the fast, you could do that, or the MCT
Mm-hmm.
oil. And the thing about MCT oil is, people say, oh, your ketones are going to go up and you're going to be burning more fat. Well, in reality, the ketones are coming from your body using the MCT
Yes.
oil. So, yeah, it can maybe fill you up a little bit so you can extend the fast for maybe another few hours. But it's not like MCT oil is this magic fat burning potion. All it
No.
is you're burning the MCT oil and your ketones are going to go up because of that. You're not accessing more body fat. And I think a lot of
Right.
people kind of are lost on that. They miss that point.
I agree. And I think it's just kind of, it's almost like cheating a little bit, and it's just a little too artificial. I did try the MCT oil at the very beginning, because same thing. I heard, oh, it might help speed, get you into ketosis, whatever. But first of all, I got to tell you, it made my stomach, it made me so sick to my stomach. Like, I don't know what
Okay.
that was about, but yeah, the more I realized, no, you can really, if you are eating the right foods, lower carb, and you're, fasting, you are going to get into that ketosis just fine. You don't
Right.
need any of the extra stuff. And I that's another thing I love about fasting is I save a ton of money,
You
because
really
you're not
do.
buying, meals for 3 meals a day. You don't need to buy these extra supplements. You really
Hmm.
don't. If you don't want to buy the electrolytes, then just get some mineral salt and drop that
Right.
in your water. Or and that was one thing I wanted to ask you about too. In your book, you talk about, because I do this every day too. Before I drink my black coffee, I just put mineral salt in my water. But you said you put it under your tongue. I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's to make sure it actually like gets where it needs to go, or
Yeah, it was just, I always started the mornings with a pinch of the salt under my tongue, and it didn't, if I did that when I wasn't fasting, it would probably be like cringy. But doing it
okay,
during, it didn't bother me at all. It didn't have a horrible taste. My taste buds actually changed, and I wouldn't want to say I enjoyed it. If I put it on my tongue, it probably would not have been as pleasant. But I look forward to, okay, waking up, get out of the shower. Okay, got to put the salt. It wasn't something I dreaded. I'd put a pinch under my tongue, and then as I'm
right,
preparing the electrolytes to, bring them to the office, it was
then
absolutely fine. Taking care of the dogs, and it was just,
yeah,
it really helped with the hunger.
awesome. So what about foods? What are kind of your go-tos for food that
Well,
you
go-tos like
enjoy?
Greek yogurts. I like,
Hmm.
I think it's Chobani. They make a
Okay.
20-gram protein yogurt that's, low in carbs. I like
Yes.
that. I do like the Too Good as well. I like Parmesan Reggiano cheese. I always have some of that just to start out with a nice protein fat kind of block in there. And then, just regular meats and vegetables, nothing too crazy. Um,
Just simple.
we did have the sourdough bread, which is
Yes, I was
one of
glad
my
you
favorites.
mentioned that. I have that right in my notes here. Um, do you want to talk a minute about that? Ben
Sure.
Starr, is that the guy's name? I already have
Yeah,
my
so
husband. I said, I gave my husband a job. I said, I read John's book, and my husband loves sourdough, and so do I. And he said, this master class he has, so I'll let you take it away there.
yeah, so I always thought sourdough was neat, but it was And I didn't realize that the health benefits, that sourdough actually does not really, because of the way it ferments, it doesn't really spike insulin. And then if you put, some butter or some cheddar cheese on it, you've got a really good bread that's not going to send the blood sugar up. But
Right.
sourdough is always so labor intensive. One of my daughters made it, and it would, take like 2 days to make, and you'd be spending so much time, you'd be babysitting it. And it's like, well, I just don't have the patience. And then, you put all that time into it and it comes out wrong anyway.
Right.
And,
Right.
all the discard jars you have to have and constantly feeding
Yeah.
it. And it's like, oh gosh, it's not worth the trouble for me. And then I was looking around and I found this guy online, Ben Starr, 2 R's, I think, at the end of his name. But he's got this simple sourdough recipe, and you don't babysit it. There's no discard. You just feed it. You put it in your fridge, and you use it until there's almost none left, and then you refeed it again, mix it up, put it back in your fridge, use it. And his recipe, you're not constantly folding and stretching. You just take it, you mix it up, you let it sit, then you put it into the pot. You put in the. I mean, it's like, how could this be? I mean, and it's so good.
It's
So
the little
like,
things in life that are so big, right?
yeah. So it's like, oh my gosh, I've been missing out on sourdough because I thought it was so complicated, and he just dumbs it down into one easy, simple recipe. And then you could add different things to it. I've done it with
Right.
cheddar and jalapeno, which was delicious. Everything but the bagel is also really good because you can put cream cheese on that. And you're not having a insulin spiking bagel, but you're having something that tastes just as good.
Absolutely.
So I absolutely recommend that, and I like making it myself because you never know what you're going to get at the store. You pick up a sourdough,
Right.
yeah. If a local baker puts it in, it's probably going to be okay. But you don't want to have all these additives in there that
No.
maybe are going to affect blood sugar.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. When I read that in your book the other day, I went to YouTube really fast and I found his little video course and I sent it right to my husband. He just retired from education in June. And so I said, I have a job for you. I'm a little too busy, but you can do this. So he's on it. And he's also
All right.
on the, you said to make the hard-boiled eggs, because we eat hard-boiled eggs like they're going out of style. Make them in the Instant
Pot.
Pot. Yeah,
Oh,
so I
they
got him on
peel
that too.
beautifully. Okay, great.
That's actually gonna, I think, maybe happen later this afternoon. We're gonna try it out. So,
Perfect.
yeah, but love hard-boiled eggs. But all right, so Jen, we've talked a little bit about this, but what are your thoughts on exercise and fasting? I know you do it, but I don't want to kind of spoil anything, but one of the things that jumped out at me was that you said, and you're 59 years old, you spend 30 minutes a week in the gym and you've got the physique better than when you were in your 20s and 30s. So tell me your thoughts on exercise and what you think about all that.
Yeah, so exercise, I mean, I've always exercised. It's just been an important part of my life. When I was younger, we moved from Brooklyn to New Jersey. I was picked on, so it wasn't up until, 11th grade where through exercise I started to be able to have more of an ability to take care of myself. So I kind of got locked into that, your physique is who you are, and it's really not. It's not healthy, but that's just kind of the way things went with me. So I've always exercised, and I find with fasting, it's so important to exercise because if you don't, I mean, it's protein sparing. I mean, you listen to Jason
Right.
Fung and he'll tell you could fast and you're not going to lose muscle. And I truly believe that to a point. I think as we get older, sarcopenia is a real thing and your body just looks for reasons to start dumping that muscle. So if you're fasting and you're not getting enough protein and you're not getting resistance training, so your body says, wait, this is necessary tissue, we can't get rid of it, you may start to lose some of it. So I always recommend anybody who's fasting to do the resistance training. If you're, you could run, you could bike, you could play tennis. You need to get in the resistance training though. And like I said, I recommend twice a week. A great book on that is Body by Science by Doug McGuff. And he talks
Body
about,
by Science.
yep, by
Doug McGuff.
Doug
Okay.
McGuff. And I believe John Little also. I'm not 100% sure, but
Okay.
it's a great book because it talks about how all you need really is brief, intense exercise. And he has, the big five, the big three. So, I mean, if you're just going to do, say, a push, so a chest press, you're going to get your chest, you're going to get your shoulders, you're going to get your triceps. If you do a row, pulling something here, you're going to get your back and your biceps, and then something for legs, like a leg press. Say you just did that twice a week, one slow set to failure. So you're doing three exercises, 3 sets total on Monday and 3 sets total on Thursday. You're getting enough stimulus that you're going to be not losing muscle and building some. You add in another 2 exercises, maybe something, more specific. You could, build a really good program, but I wouldn't recommend doing over 12 exercises a session, and really just one nice controlled set of each exercise to failure. And to failure isn't like, oh, I don't think I can get another one. Failure is you're pushing and it's not moving, and then it slowly starts to come back down. Then you're done. So that's true failure. And there's so many studies out there on how this is just as effective or more effective than the high volume, because especially, as we get older, your body recovery is so important to be able to build muscle. If you're just constantly hitting it, you're going to get injured because you're unable to, oh, I feel good, but has your body neurologically recovered? Have the tissues recovered? Probably not.
Yeah, and I love how in your book you give suggestions for several, quick, great workouts from people that you can just head to YouTube and find some great strength training full body workouts there, and just addressing the myth really that. And I get this a lot. They say, hey, Jen, I'm really worried about fasting causing muscle loss. But, it's, we feel like you said, we've always heard you have to continually feed the muscle in order for it to grow. And, I love how you kind of debunk some of that in your book as well, and address that, because that's another big concern for people who are just starting out with fasting. So
absolutely, and it's a valid concern, because you don't want to you've worked hard to build muscle, or like we said, you reach a certain age where if you don't do anything, you're going to start losing X number of pounds a year. And it's like, well, why would I not feed those muscles constantly?
100%.
You really don't have to.
No. So, and I got to say, like I said before, I was just really blown away after reading your book and finding out that we really have an extremely similar kind of fasting philosophy, I guess you could say. I'm thinking we probably, because you said you're kind of like a complete perfectionist. Oh, gosh, I am so type A. It's not even funny. I mean, definitely the teacher in me, but, my husband teases me, in the basement, I have every bin imaginable, every size, everything's labeled. It's just so. Yeah, I am someone who likes to follow things, but I also am someone who likes to do their research, because I thought it was cool that it seems like we've learned from a lot of the same similar people, like you mentioned, Dr. Jason Fung, and I loved Thomas DeLauer. I, of course, am a big fan of Jen Stevens, but sounds like we're both kind of research geeks and have done a lot of trial and error and mistakes, and we're just trying to save the world out there of people wanting to fast, and maybe save them a mistake or two or a few. So
exactly,
as
and
they make their way on their road to success. So.
And that's so important. And I think you're very much like me in the way where, if you're, a perfectionist, like you said, we both are, you can't recommend something to somebody unless you tried it yourself. I mean, I couldn't recommend fasting to somebody if I just read it. Wow, that looks really good. I'm going to start recommending it. Anything I've done, whether it's been through chiropractic, through exercise, diet, I always have to try it myself to make sure it's valid. And then I vet it. I dig deeper into the research. Well, why is this working? Is it really working? Is it placebo? And there's so many things, because, I mean, this is our reputation, and we don't want to be sharing things with people that, it was a flash in the pan, and then it's like, oh, yeah, that didn't turn out so well.
Yeah, I love that. And Yeah, I think in this, like, you know, I do my thing on TikTok just because it kind of gets me out there to a different audience. But
Hmm.
what drives me crazy there is being on there has its has its annoyances too, because every day I'm getting like these random, hey, can you promote this? Hey, we'll pay you this if you. But like you said, I first of all, I don't have time to try all those things. But I am absolutely not going to promote anything unless
Hmm.
I try. I've tried it and I love it, love it, love it. And there's a lot of stuff out there that I mean, I don't love. So,
Yeah, me too. That it
yeah,
looked good
you
on paper, and then it just fell apart.
right, right. And I think, again, going back to the simplicity of fasting, where you don't need a lot of the extra supplements, or, you don't need that stuff. It's just really sticking to, I love what you said. You said the three-legged stool in your book is kind of, weight loss is a three-legged stool. It's about what you eat, it's about when you eat, and it's about how much you eat, and trying to balance that.
Yeah.
But if you keep that in perspective, and just make that a very simple formula, that's why fasting really can work for so many people. Um, so one thing that I wanted to touch on, I thought you offered some really great tips in your book about specific ways to fight against hunger while fasting. Would you mind giving a tip or two there? Because I thought you really had some
Sure.
great tips. Yeah.
I mean, the easy ones, like I said, the pinch of salt under the tongue, that really
Mm-hmm.
did great. Drinking water, if you're going to drink, if you want to stay away from the stevia, you could drink seltzer again, because that, the bubbles fill up your stomach and help it to expand. The stretch reflex then triggers, the cascade that you feel like you're
Yeah.
full. Going out for a walk is always great. Picking up a book and starting to read. I don't recommend people sit there and say, "Oh, I have, 3 hours before I'm going to eat and I'm really hungry. Let me get on TikTok and scroll for 3 hours," because you really
Yeah.
could.
No.
Time goes by
Not
very
good.
quickly, but I don't recommend that.
No.
But
Yeah.
I mean, those are
Absolutely.
just really
And
simple
sleeping,
things
like
that,
you said, if
yeah, go to bed
like,
early.
go to bed early. That has been a big one for me too. And, just kind of rearranging your fasting and eating windows to, get a good, a 12-hour chunk. Of course, you're not going to sleep for 12 hours, but
Right.
when you get up and, you're doing your exercises maybe in the morning. And I mean, that time really does fly by. And before you know it, it's time to open up your eating window. So,
Exactly. And
yes.
over time, I mean, sometimes I'll be looking and be like, "Oh, my eating window was an hour ago. I guess I should probably have something to eat." It's
Right.
not like, once your body gets used to going back and forth, there's a metabolic
Mm-hmm.
flexibility between burning fat and burning glucose and glycogen. You really don't have those hunger issues. I mean, you may feel them
Right.
occasionally, and you could just either choose to ignore them, or, like we talked about, have the pinch of salt or have something to drink, and they pass. But people don't get that. Even with the longer fast, if you go to bed and you're like, "Oh gosh, I'm going to be starving in the morning because I didn't eat today," you're going
Sure.
to wake up like you normally do, and you're not going to be any hungrier than if you
Yeah.
had a big dinner the night before. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, yes. Yeah, 100%. Um, and yeah, so I think one thing that you mentioned too is just, again, going back to simplicity of it. But if at its basic, you know, level, I think when you're trying to describe to someone why fasting works, I love what you said. It's basically fasting taps into how your body naturally manages energy. I mean, you're a sugar burner or you're a fat burner.
Hmm.
It's kind of that, and and if you break it down, because some people, they're like, I just don't understand. I hear all the time, well, of course you're going to lose weight. You're starving yourself. They just, the science part of it, they're not
Right.
maybe willing to, kind of listen to. But I believe in its basic sense. You did a nice job explaining it there. That's what it is. It's just how your body basically naturally manages its energy. So, and where it's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean,
coming
people
from.
get confused. I mean, they think, oh, I have
Sure.
all this fat. It's like, well, what's the fat for? The fat's there for storage in case you don't have food. So if you want to
Absolutely.
get rid of the fat, well, maybe you don't have food and your body will burn that. And I
Yes.
think a big mistake a lot of people make is, oh, I'm going to lose weight, so I'm going to start jogging, or I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to
Hmm.
start, doing, and they don't change their habits. And you can speak
Right.
to anybody who you see who's lost weight through running or exercise and say, well,
Hmm.
what did you do? Did you change anything besides running? They're all going to say, no, I modified my diet. If you don't change your diet, you're not going to lose the weight.
No.
You don't burn enough
No.
calories. And I reference this in my book. If it's the article's online in Scientific American called The Exercise Paradox. And
Hmm.
it's a fascinating study that they did. They followed one of the last few hunter-gatherer tribes out there. And they were hunting, I think it was a giraffe that day or something like that. But they followed them. They took samples to see what their bodies were doing. And they figured these people are probably going to be burning a ton of calories being out there all the time,
Right.
doing what they did. When they got all the lab work back, they burned no more calories than the average American does, because your
Wow.
body has a set metabolic rate where it just is you're going to say burn your calories while you're out running looking for the game, but then
Hmm.
when you're back around the campfire or doing other things, your metabolism then changes, it slows to conserve, so you're not going into starvation. So it's
Sure.
not like you going out and say, oh, I'm going to get my 10,000 steps, which are great for your health, but they're not
Yeah.
great for your weight loss, because your body is just
Absolutely.
going to adapt.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. 100%. So, well, Dr. John, it is almost time to wrap things up. So,
Time flies when
first,
you're having fun.
it does. Hey, if people want to contact you, and everybody out there, you're going to want to read his book. It was such a quick but very powerful read. I myself, I love knowledge. Knowledge is power. And I really pulled a lot of really amazing gems or tips from John's book. So let us know, John, where can we find you? And also let everyone know how they can get their hands on a copy of your book, Fasting That Works.
Fasting That Works is on Amazon, so you should be able to find it fairly easily there. Reaching out to me, you can reach out to me by email. You can include that in the notes.
Okay. Yep.
I'm also on Facebook, very accessible there. That's probably one of the few platforms I actually check. I do post on all other platforms, but I can't be
Yes.
checking everything. But I will check Messenger to see if somebody's reached out to me on that. So
Oh, that's
really,
perfect.
email or Facebook are the two great ways to reach out.
Okay, well, I will make sure that I leave your email in the show notes, as well as the Amazon link to your awesome book. And I have really enjoyed talking with you today, John, but let's end with a shiniest gem of yours. So if you could leave us all with your very, very best intermittent fasting tip, that would be amazing. So what do you say?
Okay, so my very best, I could do a really long run-on sentence and include a lot of things.
I know you could, but
But
run on
I would
sentences.
say,
I don't like those. I'm a teacher, an English
I'll put a lot
Right,
of
so make it
semicolons
concise,
in there.
John.
It really is just start. This is the way your body was really designed to function. You weren't designed to have all this processed food, constant intake of food. So just start it, and it's easier than you think. And once you get into it, you'll wonder what took you so long, because the changes are very quick. You may hit some rough spots again. We've talked about don't start it and then break your fast with a
Sure.
8-pump mocha, but just jump in. There's so many resources out there. The reason I wrote the book is because I wanted to make sure I took all of the things that I've found from so many different sites and just put it in a way that's so easy to read, like I'm having a conversation with you. but you don't have to buy my book to do that. The information is
Sure.
out there. You have access to the same information I did, and listening to podcasts like yours, you're going to get a lot of information. Put the pieces together and just do it. So I mean, that's really it. It's not complicated. You could mess it up, but what's the harm? What's the
Yeah.
worst thing that can happen? You could do like I did, and I broke fast wrong, but to be quite honest, I didn't gain weight. I just didn't lose weight. So I'm sure
And you
there was
learn
some
from it.
benefits in there. Yeah, exactly.
And you move forward, and that's what it is about, making those mistakes and learning from them. And I love that. That's actually my favorite part of doing these podcast interviews, is that last question. And it's amazing how often I find similar answers. And so your answer to just start made me think of Mary, a friend of mine, who she was at 20 years old, lost over 100 pounds.
Wow.
And 60, I think it was 64 inches with intermittent fasting, completely changed her life. And when I got to the end of my interview with her, I said, what's your biggest gem, your biggest tip? And she said, make today your day one, like just start. So I love that. And you're
That's
right.
great.
I think people, they don't know, what they're missing until they start. And then once you start and you see all of the amazing fasting benefits, it just pretty much blows you away. So
It really does. So what's your big gem that you would
oh
share?
gosh, you're gonna turn that back on me. Well, I think mine kind of goes along with a lot of other people's too, and it's just to never give up. And I kind of try to use that philosophy with a lot of different elements in my life. But I get a lot of people that come to me, or maybe in my Facebook fasting group, and they say, look, Jen, I tried it for a month. Fasting doesn't work for me. And to be quite honest with you, it didn't work for me either when I was doing 16-8 and making some mistakes along the way. But I knew that I was at a point in my life where I had to do something that worked. And I knew after reading the book from Jen Stevens, Delay, Don't Deny, from doing the research, I knew that because of the science, it was going to work. I just had to keep trying and finding methods and, routines that would work for me. And that is exactly what I did. So yeah, I did have to push through a lot of frustration, just like you have to do with teaching and every other, different challenge that arises in your life. And that's the thing. It's not an overnight success, that's for sure. Just like anything worth having is worth working for. And that's kind of how I feel like with fasting. So
Yeah, that's a great
Just
tip,
don't
because
give up.
consistency is important with everything.
It is.
And
You're, you're adding to that your success with each fast, even if, like you say in your book, and what I say, you want to go on a cruise or you take a little break, even if you move away from fasting for even 2 or 3 months, you've got the tools and you can come back to it and, just keep moving forward and progress comes with, like you said, with consistency. And so,
That's it.
yes, but
Love it.
well, my goodness. Thank you so much, John, for taking time out of your day to chat with all of us. I have learned a ton. So excited that we've made this, hopefully, lifelong connection. So,
Absolutely. Me too.
yeah.
This is
All right.
great.
Well, thanks again, John.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for choosing to spend part of your day listening to this episode of the Intermittent Fasting Gems with Jen podcast. If you think these tips could help a friend or a family member, please consider sharing this episode with them. And if you really enjoyed the show, taking a minute or two to leave a positive review would be so appreciated. Tune in for new 15 to 25-minute episodes released on the 10th, 20th, and 30th of each month. Episodes will feature solo shows filled with IF hacks that have worked for me, as well as episodes where I get to chat with fun folks of all ages who've experienced incredible success with intermittent fasting. If you have questions or want more unique intermittent fasting health and weight loss tips, tricks, and recipes, please visit my website and blog at sowhatifwithjen.com. Finally, we'd love to welcome you into our free intermittent fasting Facebook support group, So What If with Jen. Find all of these links in the show notes below. And as always, I hope you spend your day loving without fear and laughing until your cheeks hurt.